dear Rose. I'm about to spill some tea. Some plus size tea.
Hello, everyone. It's me, dear Rose. I know I've been gone for a while. I've been on vacation. I had a lot of things I wanted to take care of. And I got myself situated. I'm back. Tonight we have a special show, a panel show. For those of you that are tuning in, again, welcome to Plus Size Tea with Dear Rose. If this is your first time, please like and subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell so you can know when I'm always on, bringing you national news, hot topics, and more. Also, for my replay guests, when you're coming in to watch the replay, if you like my content, please like and subscribe. Everything will be in this description box from all my panel members, where you can reach them if you want to contact them after the show. Today's show is going to be about the plight of Black America. And I wanted to do this show for quite some time. It's just something that I have two young Black males as my sons, and I worry about the future for them and other Black children all over the world, young adults, even all the generations that are still, thriving and living and trying to make it in America. And even though we have progressed some, it's still oppression and different other types of systematic racism that is still being exercised here in the United States, no matter how hard we try to get ahead. So I have several panel members tonight that will be coming on to discuss the real crucial topics tonight. So I think I already have somebody waiting in the background. I have PYTHIAS Brown. PYTHIAS, I'm going to bring you on.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi. Let me see. Can I get you up here? Okay, there you are. How you doing this evening?
I'm fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you great. Awesome.
Okay,
I'm waiting on two more gentlemen. Curtis Roundtree from Curtis Roundtree TV and Larry Roundtree from Boogie Speaks Too as well here on YouTube. Hello, Tanisha in the chat. How are you? Let me see if I can put the link in the chat. Maybe this will help them come on. Let's see. Copy. Let's see, can I put it in the chat? Let's see here. Just in case they come in and they can join. All right, I don't know where they are. All right, we'll just wait a few minutes. But again, for those that are just tuning in, tonight we're going to be talking about the plight of Black America. Why the fear of the Black race? And I think it's a very important topic for this time. It's different reasons why I wanted to do this show. Again, as I stated earlier in the beginning when I first came on, for those of you that are just not tuning in and those of you that will be playing the replay, if you like this content, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you will be notified when I'm on again. And also, I have all my panel members. Their contact information will be in the description box. Again, PYTHIAS, don't you think also that it's a crucial time for Black America? Just to get a little.
It's a very crucial time for Black America. First of all, it's crucial for Black America to, first of all, like each other. Second of all, get along. Mm-hmm. And third is to bind together financially.
Right.
You know, because just getting the first part for me is getting along, because we can't do the other two unless we get along.
That's right. All right, let me bring in another guest. Go ahead. All right, is this L Boogie?
Yes, yes. Can y'all?
Good
Yeah,
evening,
okay.
sir. Welcome.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Say something. Yeah, all right. I can hear you pretty well. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, Pythias, let me introduce you to L Boogie Speaks Too. He's another panel member.
How you
Larry,
doing?
this is yes.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
How you doing?
Wonderful.
All
Good, good.
right, we have the last panel member coming on. Here we go. All right. There is Curtis Roundtree TV. How you doing this evening, Curtis?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Curtis,
all
unmute
as well?
yourself. Awesome. Great. Curtis, this is Pythias. I think you all are acquainted already, aren't you? Pythias Brown.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
before
yes.
you. All right. And L Boogie is on too as well, Curtis.
Okay. How you doing, Larry?
What
El
up?
Boogie.
What up?
All right. Again, tonight, for those of you that are just tuning in, I've really been feeling this pull to talk about our Black culture in this time and the plight of our people. I think this is a crucial time for us to have this discussion, to finally get some of the things out on the table. For those of you that are just tuning in, again, if you like this content, please like and subscribe, ring that bell. And the description for the other panel members, their information will be in the description box. For those of you that will be watching the replay, please feel free to leave comments. And if there's something that you would like to one of the panel members or myself to get back to you with, we will try our best to answer all your questions. Okay, so we're going to start from the beginning. I know all of us should be familiar with the Willie Lynch letter.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to show it to the people. If you just give me a moment, I'm going to share my screen, and I will show a little bit of the letter. Just a moment. Let's see, I don't think I've got the right. Nope, I'm not doing that. Okay, just a minute. Share screen. Okay, and I'm going to pull up the letter so we can see it. Okay, this is the letter I'm going to show. I hope you all can see it. I don't know who wants to start first, but who is familiar with some of the content inside of the letter and the background about the Willie Lynch
I can give a little
letter?
information on it.
Okay.
Willie Lynch, he identified himself as a master of a modest plantation in the British West Indies. He was invited to the Virginia colony in 1712 to teach his methods to the rest of the slave owners. So basically, what the letter entails is methods to keep their stolen cargo separated. Because the reason why the Virginia colony called him there was because they were having trouble with their slaves running away, revolting. You know, they was just really unruly. So Willie Lynch was called there to just basically give his spiel on what methods he uses on his plantation in the West Indies to keep his slaves in line.
Okay. So the Willie Lynch term is it's a supposedly a conspiracy theory that this is not really a publication, or this is something that was, I don't know who the earlier people said that this was written, or why do you think this is a conspiracy? Why do they think that this is not real, or some form of
They don't want it to be. They don't want it to be real. When all actuality, it is real. I mean, there is a push for, I'll say push for, by people that would benefit, to like try to alter and change history as we know it, so it can either be omitted in the future or left out. But this is a part of history, because it's in too many different kinds of print, and it's in too many different places throughout the years for it not to have not to be valid in some way. But basically what the letter entails is, it shows how to create differences, how they should create differences among the slaves, to cause them basically just to be distrustful of each other, but mostly trust in the slave masters.
Right. I can read a little excerpt from the publication, and I quote, "I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that, if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On top of my list is age, but it's there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantation statuses on plantations, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley or hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration." Now let's go back to what you were talking about. And any of you could chime in. Is that not what we see amongst our culture day to day from generations?
Yes.
How we're distrusting of one another.
Exactly.
We pull each other down. We very rarely are seen working together. We've gotten better. On some, we have come together, especially during the civil unrest and things like that. I have seen a lot more camaraderie amongst our culture. But any of you that want to take on that comment from the Willie Lynch publication?
Well, as far as I can see, is how can it not be true? They have used many methods to control us, and still using some of those same methods today. Just like with the color, we don't even like each other because one of us is darker or lighter than the other.
Colorism, yes. Mm-hmm.
So again, how can it not be? Envy comes in when she thinks she cute because she got that handbag, or she got them shoes, or she got a house, or she got a BMW or a Mercedes. That's what it. And again, how can it not be true? We see it every single day. We see it every single day. And it's disturbing because some of us know that these things are separating us from our own people, but we've gotten to the point where we really don't care. We really don't care at all.
Curtis?
Yes,
Can you hear?
that speech that was done on the James River. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, speak up a little bit or turn your mic up just a little bit.
Okay, hold on one second. As I was saying, that speech that was given on the James in Virginia in 1712, it had an impact on all the listeners. Is because they had this idea that they can turn the older black males against the younger black males, the light skin against the dark skin, and the young against the old.
Right.
And not only did they preach it, teach it, and demonstrate it to the other slave masters, it kept being told and taught throughout generations from plantation to plantation. And you can see it in today. You can see it in our today's generation, how the young men are warring against the older men. Because, you know, back in the days, our older men was our elders. And that's who we modeled ourselves after. Those are the people who taught the younger generation how to behave themselves in public, how to become men. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just the father in the household. It was other men, strong men of valor in the community. And so this they knew this is because from Africa, you know, in the tribes, that was one of the mantras of how they taught the tribal youth through with the men, the strong men of the tribes. So they knew it was very important that the young men learn from the older men, and you know, and as well as being a close and tight community. So now they had, or then in slave days, they had only the light skin African Americans was allowed into the house. So, and the dark skin worked into the fields. So this brought discord and competition in between, you know, the lighter and dark skinned slaves. And you can kind of see that now in this time of how, you know, sometimes it be some friction in between light skinned brothers and the dark skinned brothers. But you know, we all should be trying to learn from that and try to, you know, be better. Try to do better with ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah, Larry, you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, to piggyback on what Kurt was saying, I'm just going to give a few examples of how older black people are pitted against younger black people. Now, if you look at most of your legacy civil rights organizations, and you look at your African American senators, few senators, but mostly congressmen, they never seem in black organizations. They never seem to groom young people to take over. Like you just had Congressman
That's correct.
Lewis, who just recently passed away. He passed away in Congress, you know, and he was serving in Congress when he passed away. John Lewis. So what they are failing to do, it's like the older generation, they want to hold on to power positions so long that it becomes detrimental to our people, because they don't want to bring the young people up behind them to take the mantle to try to move our race forward. And also, like Kurt was saying about how they pit the house Negro against the field Negro. If you were light skinned, you got to serve in the house. You know, like Malcolm said, you either lived in the attic or in the basement. You know, you lived in the house. So the slaves that worked in the house thought they were better than the slaves that worked in the field. Slaves in the field, they got treated differently. They felt the lash.
All
You
right.
know, they caught hell. You know, whereas the house Negroes loved the master because they were closer to him and dressed like him and whatever like that. The field Negroes, they hated master. Like Malcolm said, they prayed that the master die. So those type of values and the way we relate to each other have been passed down through generation. Now in after the Civil War, when they called themselves setting us free, um, what didn't happen was there was no therapy. You just let
Juneteenth.
people go, and in some cases, all they known was slavery.
Just turn them
So
loose.
many left the plantation and would come right back. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's never been any real psychological therapy for our people, and it's showing. It's trauma. We don't actually want to deal with it with each other or talk about it because it's so painful, and it's a thing whereas we need treatment. So that's my spiel on how the Willie Lynch letter is too plain. If you could put your hand on it and touch it today, there were methods. Those are the methods that they use. So they want to, call it a conspiracy theory, but that the reason why is because they want to erase history. They don't want to be held accountable for what was done to us. So it's
Okay.
not a conspiracy. It's truth.
Pythias, you have anything you want to add?
Well, just like gentleman said, everything that we're learning about now, they have consistently tried to keep it under wraps, a secret, because again, they do not want to be accountable for them, not only themselves, but for their ancestors. They don't want to be, they just really don't. That's why they'll sit up there from time to time and make their little speeches on TV and talk about, oh, well, how, if you notice, they'll talk about blacks, but they don't really get into full details. They'll just, it's a sad shame that something like that happened, and then they'll pop off to something else because they really don't even want to talk about it.
Right.
Right.
Speaking of that, not to interrupt you, that reminds me of when they gave us the Juneteenth holiday versus them giving reparations to Asian Americans. And no, I have no ill will towards Asian Americans, but our plights are totally different. So I am a Black African American woman. I can't speak on how Asians feel about their prejudice or the way they were mistreated. I can only speak on our 300 plus years of oppression. So I was very offended at the fact that they gave the Asian Americans reparations, and also that they threw us a holiday, another holiday. They gave us the King holiday, and then they turned around and gave us the Juneteenth holiday. And it bothers me to the point where it's like they throw us the scraps or the bones, and we're supposed to be so happy with that progress. I mean, what does giving us that holiday actually do for our Black culture? What does it actually do to make us better people, or to make give a future to our children? Somebody help me.
It does nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It doesn't do anything. But
they gave us they just gave us this holiday to appease us.
And the sad part about it is some of our people are so used to getting the crumbs that fall from the table that they're actually will say, well, that's something. But it's really nothing. But at the same time, what you have to look at, the reason why you have to look at, that's how they think of us. They think we're less intelligent, and they think they can basically put anything over on us. But the sad part about this particular situation is the bill that was passed for the Asians was a bipartisan bill, meaning that the Democrats and Republicans got together to push the bill through Congress and Senate. All right, you have Reverend Warnock is the first Black senator from Georgia in 100 years. And what is really, I think, insulting to a lot of us and angering is the fact that he voted for the bill. He's not stupid. He knows our plight. He knows the history of us in America. He is the pastor over Ebenezer Baptist Church, New Ebenezer Baptist Church, on the corner of Auburn Avenue and Jackson Street. I get my hair cut right across the street from
Wow.
there. But he and the Black Caucus and our other members of Congress, they overwhelmingly voted for the bill, and what in some cases was talking about stop Asian hate. Now, before the bill was passed, there was an incident here in Atlanta where a white guy shot up a few massage parlors. You know, he had something going on in his head about him being a sex addict or whatever. But at any rate, to me, that was a precursor of them pushing the Asian hate bill. They had to have a false flag event to happen in order to justify them pushing the bill. But they have yet to pass the George Floyd anti-lynching bill. They haven't passed that. So I look at it as betrayal. When we vote and we send whomever, black or white, but in a lot of cases, black politicians to office, they are representing themselves and the Democratic Party, but they aren't representing us. So we have to become less emotional and more calculated in the way we make decisions. Because there's no way, in my opinion, there's no way in the world we should have supported Joe Biden without making any demands, considering his history. His last, he has a long history in politics. He's a senator from Delaware, and he's been in politics for 50 years. He wrote the 1994 crime bill, and he wrote the 1986 anti-drug law that created disparity between crack cocaine and powder cocaine. So all those, the history should be considered. But I think we got duped because we was emotional, and they played on our emotions by pushing that Trump was a racist, which really I call that the Jedi mind trick, because that's something that was very plain. Now we know how he felt, but the difference between the two was their methodology. He's very straightforward with who he is. He's the snake you can see in the door, whereas Biden is a snake in the high grass that you can't see. So just, I know, y'all understand what I mean.
Right.
But I'm just saying that we have that particular instance where we were so very disrespected. That's total disrespect. So going forward and in the future, we have to think better. We have to think better. We have to do better. And that comes with us having a commonality and knowing that the decisions we make may not affect us right now, but it's going to affect future generations. We have to become a forward-thinking people, and we have to learn to stick together regardless of differences, and it's not about emotion, it's business,
So going forward with the next elections coming up in a couple of years for presidency and other midterm elections, what do you think as a black whole, what do you think our stance should be on voting and things like that?
I think that we should leave the Democratic Party. I think we should, when we register to vote, we should register as independent. Now, granted, we all know on this panel that we are the only group that vote in a block. We have voted in a block for the last 50 years. We vote a down ticket Democrat all the way. No other group in America does that. All the other groups separate their votes between the Democrats, the Republicans, the Green Party, and Libertarians. Yeah, Libertarians. They separate their vote. We vote straight Democrat. That's why our vote is so powerful, because we elect president. We are you can't come by the black vote and not to become president. And they know this. But they've taken advantage of I'll call it political immaturity over the last 50 years, and they have used it in their favor. And they give us symbolic victories versus things that we can see, taste, and touch,
Right.
things that are
Right.
tangible. And in the past that's been enough, but now it's not enough. In this particular instance, the disrespect is so blatant and so in your face. It's not like in the past where it's been subtle and you couldn't quite put your hands on it. But this time it's just so blatant. The disrespect is so in your face that come 22, 24, and I'm real be honest, this is my opinion. I don't know about how about anybody else feel. I feel like we should sit the next two elections out, 2022 midterm elections and a presidential election in 2024 for general purposes. Because until they learn to respect us, particularly the Democratic Party, they shouldn't receive our vote. And in the past what they'll do, they'll bring somebody that everybody respect, like Oprah Winfrey or Tyler Perry or somebody, to say, well, your ancestors died so you could have the right to vote, when they didn't die for us to have the right to vote. They died for us to be free. They didn't die for us to be the whores of the Democratic Party. They just didn't. I don't believe that. So going forward, we need to form our own independent black voting bloc and not be loyal to either party. Be loyal to whomever is going to deliver the tangibles that you can touch, not a holiday that my mother used to drag me out to celebrate when I was a teenager. I'm like, Mary, let's go to the June German. I was like, okay, Mom, I go to June German with Mom. So going forward, we have to be wiser, and we have to not be in our feelings. And it's like we can't work with people that we don't like. Because that's an emotion. But when it comes down to business, now when white folk get ready to do business, they have differences, but they put those differences aside. Yes, sir. They put them differences aside because for what's going to benefit the group as a whole. We need to begin to operate like that. We've operated one way so long, it's not going to happen overnight, and you may never get 100% participation. But going forward, we cannot be foolish. That was not very smart. What happened in November when we stood in line to elect this president? Now, Georgia got flipped to Democrat, but for what? A holiday? Stacey Abrams helped flip Georgia. She ran for governor of Georgia the last election. She lost. It was some shenanigans going on, but she helped flip Georgia. But what good is it flipping Georgia and turning a Democrat if we can't benefit from our vote?
Right.
Well, the thing with me is, and I say this wholeheartedly. Okay, I'm 59 years old, and whether Democrat, whether Republican, I don't see the difference. I have not seen one political person, one political president who's done too much of anything for the black man. Nothing. So to explain to people, oh, we need to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that, most of them are going to say the same thing. There's not a president that's been in office or political person has done anything for us, and that's what makes people so have decided to stay where they are, because nothing changes. Nothing. I'm 59. I have never seen anything change as far as them changing anything for us. And when you were talking about Biden and how he was, and I tell a lot of people, I grew up during the crack era, and that bill that was passed was mainly passed because a huge amount of black people wanted it passed, because of what was going on. Prime example, I was living when crack came out. I was living in East Orange, New Jersey. Now, the block I was living on, we had 6, 7 apartment buildings. A couple of years after the crack scene, I came on that block. Each and every one of those apartment buildings were abandoned. And the reason why they were abandoned is because the drug dealers took over those buildings. That was the main reason why that bill that was passed through Biden was passed, because black people were so afraid of what was happening in their neighborhoods between the crack dealers taking over homes, crack dealers taking over buildings, the killings, the family members being addicted. Black people said, I don't care what you do. Get them crack dealers and get them off the street. I don't care what you do. In the process of that happening in years passing, those same people started looking and saying, oh, wow, I think we made a mistake. Because now we're seeing, because they didn't realize at first, these men and women were being put in jail for crack cocaine and was given more time for crack cocaine than cocaine pure itself. But at that time, they didn't care because they wanted these cats off the streets. They went to their politicians and said, you do something. Get these people off these streets. That's what they did. But again, in the process of that, oops, we made a mistake. So the white politicians only did what we asked them to do. Plus, in the process, the blacks didn't realize what they did was put more money in white politicians' pockets, because when they sent these boys to prison, people didn't realize at that particular time prisons were businesses. License plates, computers, mattresses, eyeglasses, dentures.
Yeah.
That's what they make in prison.
Yeah.
So when the blacks came to politicians said, oh, we got something here. So now we can get more black people in prison. We can get our products sold. So that's what's going on. And again,
cheap labor.
So again, people are sitting back and saying, ain't nobody really doing anything. So why should I switch to this party? What is this party going to do for me that all the rest of them haven't? And then the thing that's been happening is different people from these parties have been trying to run, but haven't made it past 5%. So people going, okay, see, if I'd have went for that party, he wouldn't have went anywhere anyway. So, hey, they go for what they know. They go for what person they know is going to be able to get elected. When these no names come up, we all know we got to get these old crabbers out of the White House. We got to get them out of it. We got to get some new blood.
Yeah.
We got to get new blood in here. But the problem is people keep voting for the same people, and you can't convince them to go outside the box. You just can't.
Right.
But it's like there's madness is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. We have to have a different approach.
Insanity.
Now these children of the civil rights movement, I'll say the baby boomers, our parents, and grandparents and great grandparents, that generation is the generation that are kind of like used to swimming in quicksand,
Exactly.
Yeah, but when it comes to the crack epidemic, there's always a bigger meaning. You got to look at who brought the crack in the country. How did the crack get here? How did the guns get here?
Boom.
Now, you had the Iran-Contra scandal, where they needed to raise money to support the Sandinistas, and they did it in exchange for cocaine. You had Freeway Ricky Ross. That's how they got involved in flooding the whole country with crack cocaine and guns. That was done. But first, they created the conditions that would cause that to be successful. So we have a narrow thinking window. So instead of thinking, sometimes we're just used to reacting, you know, and that's what we've done for the last 50 years when it comes to being loyal to the Democratic parties. Now, what you are right about is the fact that it was so bad that people wanted it, wanted somebody to do something. That's why 188 Democrats did vote for the 1994 crime bill that Bill Clinton signed into law, because they wanted something done, but no one was considering that, in California and places, kids was seeing railroad cars coming up on railroad cars full of guns and whatnot. So how are we going to hold these people responsible? Because crack was put in the community. It just didn't appear all of a sudden. But we have to do things. We can no longer be politically immature, and we can no longer just basically base decisions off emotion. Now you have your millennials and your Generation X's. They're gonna come along, and they're not like the civil rights generation. They're different. Their thinking is different, and their thinking is broader. I just wish our thinking, because our age group is the age group, because everybody on this panel is in their 50s. The other gentleman may be older, and then me, and then Rose, and then Kurt. So I know everybody age, but we have to stop thinking so much about emotion. It's not it's not about like. Politics is quid pro quo, a favor for a favor.
Exactly.
You vote for me, what I'm going to get. I need this, and this.
Right.
But what we have done in the past by thinking we can just line up and vote and it'll solve problems that's not the case, because there's a such thing as lobbyists. We elect black politicians and send them to office and leave as thousandaires, and when they be done after becoming career politicians, they leave as millionaires, because you have lobbyists on Capitol Hill that's paying people to vote a certain way. So if you're wondering why things aren't getting done on our behalf, because we don't have any lobbyists, all we think we need to do is line up and vote. That's very immature. We can no longer operate that way. We need to buy our politicians like everybody else, and the ones we can't rent, we need to lease them. Because if you send your politicians to office without no money, you can't hold them accountable. You can't hold them accountable and say, look, like everybody else does. That's why all they do is take our vote for granted. They use us to get into office, and then when they get into office, because we just voted them in, they use us to vote them in, then they ignore us. And the reason being is because we don't pay to play. Everyone else is paying to play. Is going to pay to play. Now, we know how people are when it comes to money. We got money for what we want to have money for.
That's right.
And that's another one of our problems. You know what I'm saying? We are America's biggest spenders.
Yes,
we are the 9th largest economy in the world. Black people. We are a $2 trillion a year economy. And if we would just make a few changes of the way we spend our money, we could get different results.
Yes.
But if you look at the Nielsen, go into Nielsen.com, it'll tell you what black people spend their money on.
Black women spend $63 billion a year just on hair. I ain't even talking about the glue and the pins, just hair alone. Period.
Right. That's why I'm upset about, okay, you elected a president who's catering to the immigrants, the LGBT community, and the Asians, but you still go in your Asian stores and spend your money. It's like, okay, it doesn't make any sense.
None.
You know, what you voted him in, he's not helping us, he's helping other people, but we still continue to feed them our dollars. But eventually we're gonna have to learn how to be more disciplined, and we have to learn how to hold our dollar, and we also have to learn how to hold our vote. You know,
Because they don't even, they take our money and the money leaves our community.
right.
Right.
They don't do anything for they don't do anything.
Nothing.
But
They don't do any.
it's very hard for our culture to spend money with what I see a lot more now. I can't say
Hmm.
that some of the Generation X, Y, the millennials, which is Y,
Hmm.
and then Z, they are more conscious of spending, giving back to their community, spending black. They push to spend black. They have campaigns to
Yeah.
give back to the community. So I see some sort of an awakening, but where are our leaders to help push the progressive culture now? We need the leaders that are thinking and speaking the same as we are. Now we are awakening out of this sleep, and these last three generations, we're coming together, and we know that it can be more can be done for us. We can have more if we all unite and we get together. But we need to elect, like you both said, we need to elect the type of leaders that are going to speak for us, that are not going to be afraid. Where are our Martin Luther Kings at? Where are our Malcolm X's? Where are our Medgar Evers? Where are our new voices for Black people that will not just get in Congress or take a position just for the shine or the money, or I got mine, you got to get yours? Where
Hmm.
are our martyrs at? Who will be our martyrs now?
See, I think there's a lack of that type of leadership today because people
You
are
actually
looking
do
at what happened
have many.
to those leaders. They're looking at what happened to Malcolm, what happened to Martin, what happened to Medgar Evers. You know, they're looking at what happened to them, and
Right,
they're taking the bag. I'll say, I'm just gonna get the bag. You know, they're gonna get the
right.
money. You know, and to hell with Black people. And I'm just really being honest. Now, you do have some people like you had Ice Cube. Me and my sister, we talked about this.
Yeah, he
Ice
met
Cube
with
came out.
Trump, correct?
He came out. He was suggesting that we go to both candidates and ask them what is in it for us. Biden wouldn't meet with him. He met with Trump though. Biden said he'll meet with him after he's elected. He's been
Okay.
elected and has yet to meet with him. He's been, as a matter of fact, he's not meeting with anybody. So it was very foolish of I won't say us because I didn't vote for either candidate. It was very foolish for our people to stand in line and vote this man in office without making any demands. That's what Ice Cube suggested,
You
but he
said it
got
right.
blowback. He
You
got
said it right.
blowback. He got blowback from it. And to be honest with you, he a multimillionaire. He a multimillionaire. He make movies and he has a 3-on-3 tournament. But he's not like a lot of Black people who they just get their money and whatever, forget them N words or whatever. He evidently he loved Black people. He said that he wants to see us in a different position. But you have to come to a position from a position of power. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we are failing to do because we're so used to coming with not from a position of power, but from a
A
position of being
disadvantage.
unpowerful.
Yeah.
Our vote is powerful, and that's what he was trying to get people to see, but they couldn't see it. But now that the smoke is cleared,
A
you
powerful
know,
influence.
on my show, DL Boogie Speaks Too. I don't pull no punches. I don't sugarcoat nothing. And I call it just like it is. I don't care if feelings get hurt or whatever. It was dumb. It was dumb of our people to send this man to office and not make no demands when you had somebody that made a suggestion that look, play both sides against each other. No, but we still have the civil rights generation that want to still continue to be loyal to the Democratic Party and not get nothing.
Curtis, you were trying to
But
say something? Curtis, was you trying to say something? Is he frozen?
Yeah,
I think he might.
I was just pretty much saying that right, that leaders today's civil rights leaders and activists are backed by powerful influences, but the thing about it is they are being pacified. So I don't know if they're getting their pockets lined or they get paid. For instance, we have Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. No disrespect to them. In some form or fashion, they have been a voice for our community. Not a voice for the black race, but a voice in the community. And they have got some reason to me that they have been in their space for many years, and I don't see how any of them have come up black agendas or something tangible, as L Boogie keeps saying. We are getting nothing tangible from black leaders that are being born, backing. So now, and you spoke about the millennials. So now the millennials who see no color, who different mantra, who follow their own influences and are inspired. Some of them are politically grounded, politically aware, but I don't think it is as intense. A lot of world issues and political issues or what Generation X, Generation Y and Z, and the millennials, they feel our pain. They know our plights. They know where we come from. They know how we came from and where we are headed. But it seemed like it's been lost. The strength of the depression, it seemed like it's lost in the millennials. A whole new arson for what's happening today. We need you know what I'm saying, like somebody come out of the woodwork, some new voice, some new angelic person that's gonna come with some not fresh ideas, but that's gonna go back to old school, get down and dirty, get elbows dirty, sleep, and get these people moving. And that's what now doing that.
Right. The millennials and the Generation X. What happened was, the millennials and the Generation and
Z.
Generation Z. What happened was our generation, because we had progressed and things had become to get easier for us and more opportunities were opened up. Not a lot, but enough for us to be able to live, buy homes, and get college educations. And not that we hadn't been getting college educations all these generations, but as things began to progress, we forgot about the struggle. And we didn't teach our millennials and we didn't teach our Generation Zs about the struggle. So you're exactly right, Curtis. We need to go back, bring the history back.
Right.
I like that they're bringing the movies back now. And also they want to take the slavery and the different things that went on back in those times. They want to take it out the history books. They wanted to see, because of the way that millennials and Generation Z, they've come together. They don't see any color, like you said. It's more unity. It's more as one. That's all well, fine, and good. But they need to know about the struggle. They need to know, not to draw them apart, because it's great that I saw so many cultures marching with us during the civil unrest, fighting for the rights of black people now. It was awesome. It was great to see that. Martin Luther King spoke of that one day, that we would come together and that they would see our plight and that they would feel. And it's because that those two generations now, they don't see as much color. They don't see as much as a struggle as we saw X and baby boomers and on beyond.
Right.
And we didn't teach them, and we became lackadaisy, and we didn't teach them. And now We have to go back, re-educate them about the struggle so that even though we are progressing and even though it seems that things are getting better, the underlying racism, the systematic things that go on, they don't see what's behind the scenes. They don't know that they don't have a future. It's even worse now to me because of the hidden way they do things in certain points, because they're killing us blatantly out in the open. But other ways of oppression is still going on, and I believe that someone will rise up and be able to carry the torch and don't be afraid to do something like that. Like Larry said, they're afraid they're going to get assassinated or they'll be killed or their family will be threatened. And it is a lot of undertaking to do. Even Obama, he was afraid to really stand up and really be for Black people. He tried to be biased. He wouldn't take a stand. He wouldn't take a side.
Not only they fear the persecution, is that people they're out for themselves, they're out for the bag. Now I'm gonna use look at our mega pastors. Look at medium to large size churches. How many well-known pastors, including T.D. Jakes, I have never heard him or any or Creflo Dollar or any Price who passed away. I've never heard them come out and speak on Black issues. Now, during George Bush's term in office, they came up with the faith-based initiative, where they could get money from the government. And I think while a lot of preachers don't come out, of course, they got their 501(c), whatever. They getting their money or whatever.
Exactly.
But at the same time, they're being paid hush money. And that's because if you look at the civil rights movement, a great many, Reverend Shuttlesworth, Dr. King, and others, Vernon Johns, they were pastors, and they spoke out against what was going on with the plight of Black people. Ministers today, they don't do that because they are out for the bag. T.D. Jakes is the second richest preacher in the world. His net worth is $174 million.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything that's going to make waves, even though he has enough wealth to be able to basically say what he wants to come out and speak against police brutality and whatnot. But he doesn't do it. He doesn't do that. They don't do it because they bought and paid for it. They bought and paid for it. And it's not, to me, there needs not to be one person to lead a movement, because once they kill that person, they killed the movement. So I think I kind of like the way the millennials and Generation Z are operating, because there's no particular one person out front. Yeah, and then that way they can't pinpoint anybody to put in jail or whatever. They operate
united. Yeah, they stay united.
Yeah, they operate as a team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you were saying about the wider generation thinking a little slightly different, but just like their generation before them, that only goes but so far.
Right.
Because what happens is they're young, but then as they grow older, they turn into their parents. It's just like on the plantation when the little white kids and Black kids play together.
They play together. Yep.
Until it came to the point where they had to take their rightful position, in the hierarchy.
Exactly.
It's the same thing today with these young white kids. And I also think that when, let's say, take Black Lives Matter movement, it's a lot of moving parts with that organization. Then on top of that, you had people who had the signs in their yards because they knew the young people probably wouldn't burn their houses down.
Right.
To me, they got involved in it because they said, well, we need to do something because it's getting so bad that eventually it's going to come to our doorstep. I don't think they care anymore about black people than they ever did, because one simple fact remains: if the average white American wanted to move past this situation with race in America, all they have to do is come out and say, "Look, we want you guys to pay these people reparations so we can move past this in our history in America." But the average white person don't want that because they know they have white privilege and they don't want the playing field to be level. If we receive reparations, the playing field will level out, and they feel that they would lose their position in America as being, lose their white privilege. You know what I'm saying? So what black people that benefit from that they do. This is the boule and the segment of black people who think that they're better than other black folks. They get in where they fit in and see which way they could prosper, so they can get the bag. And they're not thinking about other black people at large. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna have to do it ourselves. There's gonna be no coalitions with any other groups. We're gonna have to do this ourselves. Like Dr. Henry Lewis Clark says, we have no friends, and we don't. We don't have any friends. They'll create false. They'll create false.
Yeah.
They will create false. They'll create false coalitions so they can get something out of you. But in all actuality, foreigners come to this country to suck off of us, because that's what we are in America. People come and get rich off of us. They suck off of us, and we let them. That's our purpose in America, is to be America's soon to be permanent underclass.
Right.
If we don't change the way we do things, white people don't share power. They don't.
Period.
And
with a T.
Period. They don't share power. So
they even fight amongst themselves.
Right. They'll fight amongst themselves, but they have a code. They have a code of conduct that they follow. We don't have a code. If we had a code and we held our people's feet to the fire to adhere to the code, then we would be better off. All the other groups in America that's ahead of us, they have a code, and whether, like, take for instance, Darren Woodson killed Michael Brown in St. Louis, Missouri. He lost his job. People had an internet page and raised almost $300,000 for him. He was wrong, right?
Right.
He was wrong for what he did, but they did what? They were on code and they stuck together. That's what we lack as a people, because everybody want to do their own thing.
Right.
And they thinking about how they're going to individually prosper, but they thinking on short term. If you think on long term, our race not going to prosper for us trying to prosper as individuals. It's not. It never has worked. And I think that a lot of people know better, but we are hard-headed people. And not only here, but all over the world, black people are hard-headed and indifferent. We don't want nobody to tell us nothing, especially if it's good for us. And that's a sad situation, but that's the truth, And when you spill it out, don't nobody say, they can't say nothing. They can't say it's not the truth, because it is. And I kind of use an analogy use the children of Israel. And when God let Moses enable them to lead them out of Egypt and away from Pharaoh, and he went up on the mountain to get the 10 Commandments, and they down there acting the fool. And then when he come back, they're all in disarray, And then God wanted to kill them. God wanted to kill them. And Moses interceded on their behalf, but he said, okay, that mindset is not going into the promised land. And he let them wander around in the wilderness for 40 years until that generation died out, and only Caleb and Joshua made it into the promised land.
Right.
That's to me, we're modern day children of Israel, hard-headed, because everybody want to do their own thing.
2 people out of 4.
2 people out of probably millions, maybe a million. Yeah. Let's say maybe a million people left Pharaoh to go to the promised land. God had to kill them. He had to let them wander around in circles till that generation died out, so that nonsense, idolatry and all that other stuff that they were doing wouldn't go over into the promised land.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, now that we have touched on how
Right.
Our culture got to where we are now, from our ancestors being Willie lynched, being pitted against one another from the time we hit American soil, all over, or any other country that they settled us in. Now that we know where that comes from, I've also heard a theory or a conspiracy, or it could even be facts, about there were African Americans or Black people here in the United States before the slave trade. Has anyone else
Well, that's
found
common.
that?
Go ahead.
Have anyone else heard that theory? And also, along with that theory came with, when they brought the slaves, the Africans here to America to be slaves, that the free Blacks that were already here, they enslaved them as well. Is that a theory? Is it a conspiracy? Did have anyone else have? I have a publication about it, but I wanted to hear from you guys about. What do you know anything about that? The origin of the Black man. Go ahead.
That's been common knowledge that people have been coming here before Christopher Columbus. At first, they stated that the Chinese came first, even though
while you're talking, I'm going to share that. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
The Chinese did come for trade, but they left out that Africans came here also. They left that out. And if you notice, time after time, once they find out one thing, then they bring out another. And they do this because they don't want us to know that we were here first. From the rip, we were here first. And see, and that's the thing about Blacks, they don't understand. We are the number ones. We are the number ones. And whites are afraid that if we find this out, that we will say to each other, we will finally get together and be as one. But at the same time, whites know that's a long time. I don't see that happening in my lifetime at all, because we are still not liking each other. We are still killing each other. I mean, what hurts me the most, that's why I don't believe in marching. I don't believe in marching at all, because the bottom line is, during each and every march, either a cop was killing Black people or Black people were killing Black people. So what is the point of marching? It makes no sense to me. But everything about Christopher Columbus and the Blacks being here is common knowledge. If you research, you can research it yourself and find out. But they try to keep these little tidbits away from us from time to time, and each and every time. And we find out about it, and then we're like, oh, snap, for real? And you would figure finding something out that important would reinforce that we need to be together, to walk with each other financially, mentally, and they just don't get it.
Yeah, right.
They just don't get it. And whites look back and say, we never got to worry about them, because they're never going to get it. They're never going. I don't care what they find out or what they learn. They are going to consistently kill each other. They're going to consistently not like each other. They're going to consistently that's just the way it is.
Right. I'm going to read just a little bit of an excerpt from the African presence in ancient America that came before Columbus is the name of the article. I put it in the description. You can for the replayers, and they can go back and read this. I'll just read a little bit of it. On September 24th, 2016, the National Museum of African American History and Culture opened in Washington, D.C. The New York Times has stated that this long-awaited monument to centuries of African American suffering and triumphs makes a powerful declaration. The African American story is a central part of the American story. How central the role was that African Americans played has been completely told, and unfortunately, a pivotal part of that history has been excluded from this exhibit. In truth, Africans began coming to America
Thank you.
thousands of years before Columbus.
Yep.
Again, a pivotal part of that history has been excluded from the exhibit. In truth, Africans began coming to America thousands of years before Columbus, and the evidence of their presence, though systematically ignored by mainstream scholars, is overwhelming and undeniable. As Columbus Day, October 12th, approaches, and as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of the publication of They Came Before Columbus by the late Rutgers University professor Ivan Van Sertima, we must reveal to the world that Africans, by highlighting the achievements of some of the great navigators and rulers, and that's just an insert from this publication. It's a must read. It really enlightens you on our presence, our footprints here, thousands of years before slavery, thousands of years before Christopher Columbus claimed allegedly that he
discovered America.
Discovered America.
I have something.
And that we were brought here as slaves. Some of our ancestors were brought here.
Discovered America.
Rose.
Some,
which has been confirmed.
Some of our,
which has been confirmed.
Are you there, Rose?
Oh, I think we lost her for a minute.
Yeah. But just to piggyback, until she comes back in, to piggyback on what she was saying, there was an article written by Dwayne Johnson in the Valdosta Daily Times. It says Americans came before Columbus. This guy named Leo Weiner of Harvard University says that one of the strongest pieces of evidence that Africans sailed before Columbus is an entry from Columbus himself. In Leo Weiner's book, Africa and the Discovery of America, he shows that Columbus noted in his journal that the Native Americans confirmed black skin, and they came from the southeast in boats, trading gold, copper, and silver alloy, which was identical to the spears being forged in African Guinea. Then there's the large Olmec head statues with African facial features that were found throughout Central and South America. Americans had settled in America. It says Africans had settled in America long before the heads were discovered. The heads were up to 11.15 feet in height, and each weighed between 30 and 40 tons. The first heads were discovered in 1862. Says the head pieces worn were in relation to the type of war helmet worn by Egyptian region Nubians. So 11 feet tall, weighing 30 and 40. Yeah, 30 and 40 tons. Y'all know how heavy that is?
Larry.
Exactly.
Yes. we lost connection for about
Okay.
2 to 3 minutes. So whatever the last time you said until I come back, if you would start over there, because I don't believe the replayers would be able to
Right.
catch
It's been
okay, I can
said
do
many
that.
times over.
I totally lost connection. Like it totally took me all the way out, and I
Crystal
had to re-enter the studio. So start back where
Columbus
you
was
said
a slave
until
owner.
she comes back.
Okay.
He ran a slave
Well,
trade.
there was an article in the Valdosta Daily Times. I think it's 2017 by a brother named Dwayne Johnson, and the
Yes.
title was "Africans Came Before Columbus."
Right, I have that article because of the trouble
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
with
that's
it.
the one I sent you.
I'm not going to show it, but it is in the description.
And this is in the description for the viewers. Says Leo Weiner of Harvard University says, excuse me, that one of the strongest pieces of evidence that Africans sailed before Columbus is an entry from Columbus himself. In Leo Weiner's book, Africa and the Discovery of America, he shows that Columbus noted in his journal that the Native Americans confirmed black skin and they came from the southeast in boats trading gold, copper, and silver alloy, which was identical to the spears being forged in African Guinea. Then, as Rose showed when she showed her screen, you had the large Olmec head statues with African features that were found throughout Central and South America. Africans had settled in America long before the heads were discovered. The heads were up to 11.15 feet in height and weighed between 30 and 40 tons. The first heads were discovered in 1862. The head piece they wore were in relations to the type of war helmet worn in the Egyptian region of Nubians. So that's thousands of years before Columbus. Like Rose said in the piece she read, before we were slightly, a little disconnected. But we didn't learn this in school, and information is so free flowing now that you can find out anything. I think it is with our people that the information is there, because if all of us can find it, then it's incumbent of other people besides us, our race anyway, to want to. It's not a thing where we're intrigued and want to find out how great we were as a people. We're not intrigued with our history. You know, that's like other people know who we are, but we don't, and they take advantage
Right.
of that. They know
Yeah.
we gods, and I mean gods in a not God as supreme, but gods as gods. Because the black man has no birth record. Now, in the Bible, human civilization is only like 6,000 years old. But if y'all heard of
Little
Lucy,
D.
Lucy, Lucy was found, and Lucy is a black woman, and Lucy is over more than 100,000 years or so old. So if you think deeply,
Right.
we'd be like, okay, Lucy had to come from somebody. Lucy had to have a grandmother or grandfather or great grandfather.
Right.
So our history is not documented. We don't know who we are. We let the media and other people tell us who we are. We let the media, rap music, and entertainers tell us who we are, instead of taking the time out to do research and find out
Ex-
on our own. So to
exactly.
me, it's no reason for ignorance, because all you walk around with a computer in your hand on a daily basis. It's just what we do with our cell phones.
Well, one
You know,
of the major
Go ahead.
excuse me.
Curtis scrolls up. Who was speaking? Was it Pythias
one
or
of the
Curtis
major
speaking?
problems is that
Oh, Curtis. He freezing up too.
Hmm.
one of the major functionality is we don't have an identity.
Right.
and we have a culture, but we really don't have an identity. And I cook different types of food, and each one of those names I named have a food that they could trace back to their culture, back to their native land or native country. And soul food. But soul food was derived from scraps. It's derived
Mhm.
from what was left from the master's table. The
Mhm.
unwants and the discards, and we made
Right.
cuisine out of it, and our food, and it will be us could all at least take one trip back to the motherland and try to connect with someone from even remotely close to a region where we think from, and learn that we can start to at least gain our identity or grasp an identity that would give us hope. Because once we get hope, and I'm talking about hope from my identity, where we are able to relate to Africa, it will be a change in our community as well. Because now we have identity. We don't have an identity. Some people say, "Well, I'm not black." Some says I'm African American. You have some people say, "Hey, I'm African American," and then I'm not black. I'm brown. And so it's a lot of confusion. Unity. We will never get anywhere as a people. So I do know if we were to regain our identity, we will become a force to be reckoned with.
I think we already are. We just, like you say, we don't have an identity. But at the same time, it's very easy to figure out who you are if you just if you just direct your your feet towards it. It's like an old saying go, if you if you if you I forgot. But anyhow, if we would take
Say
more
it.
time, I was gonna say if we would take more concentrate
Say it
on
like this.
things that would give us knowledge about who we are instead of a bunch of nonsense. Cause the nonsense come easy. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I was saying before, if we spend our money differently, then
Right.
you get a different result. But it's what we concentrate on. Look at okay, I'm gonna give y'all a perfect example. All right, you remember when Bill Cosby on the Cosby Show was on? You remember when A Different World was on? You remember when there's other sitcoms were on? It gave a different view of black people. Just by A Different World, more
Right.
people wanted to go to HBCUs because they saw Black College Life on TV. Now, if you notice nowadays, ain't nothing on TV but garbage.
Yes.
Showing black people in a negative light. See, by people being visual,
Right.
so they're more apt to watch television. And on TV, you look at the images, look at the reality TV shows that show black women um, in a terrible light. You know how they act, what Basketball Wives, Hip Hop Atlanta, and all these other shows that come on that show black people acting the fool. Whereas years ago, not too long ago, you had sitcoms. You had the Cosby Show. His wife, he was a doctor, and his wife was a lawyer. And their kids. Then it branched off into A Different World, and then you had um you had family-based sitcoms that showed thriving black families. Now, Martin Lawrence went to Fox to try to get them to give him his show back, Martin, but it fell on deaf ears. They don't want those type of shows to come back because they know that media is very strong and media gives people who they are. If you don't read, if you don't read and do research, then and you sit and watch TV all day, that pretty much has an effect on people. the type of music people listen to, and the
Right.
type of programs people watch on TV. I only watch TV because it's garbage. You know, I only listen to certain kind of music. You know, old school rap or jazz or something like that. I don't listen to today's music because everybody sound the same and everybody's saying the same thing. And that does have an effect on our children. Now you got the gay rappers coming out. You got Young Thug
Little
and
Nas
Little Nas X
too.
on TV. They ain't got no clothes on. You know, I'm like, you know, our kids are grown. You know, I don't know about you, sir, but we have children, but our children are grown. If we had school age
It
kids,
makes
I
a
do
black
not
man
know
look so
what
weak.
I would do.
Well, all my children are grown. My oldest is 42. So
okay.
it's like even with my children,
It makes
they
a black
listen to say it again.
He froze.
Okay. And the thing about it is I don't listen to a lot of this new music. I definitely don't listen to Beyonce because they have pictured her as almost like a god.
Right.
Which she can't sing with a crap to me. I mean, she's an excellent entertainer, but for me, she can't sing a lick. I'm sorry.
Who is this?
When you compare
Yeah.
her to Aretha Franklin and Gladys Knight and the ones I grew up with, that ain't singing to me. That just
Right.
isn't. And with all these TV shows, like I watched one reality TV shows, they showed these black doctors. I thought they was from Newark, New Jersey or Camden. The way they act, the way they talk, it was horrible. They showed these housewives, horrible. And the crazy part about it is these black women are getting paid. They know why they're on this TV. They know it's about ratings. They don't care. It's about that paper. And that's why we can't get our women in
Right.
the way they need to be. We can't get our men the way we need them to be because they're so busy looking at that, they don't care about anything. It's always, I wish I could be like that. I wish I could be on TV. I wish I could get paid like that. That's all they think about.
I report on those shows here on my channel, and my conclusion or perception or my opinion of those shows is, first of all, it's just entertainment. It's entertainment. Each generation had their Elvises, their Arethas, their Beyoncés. Every generation had their entertainers that were, everybody was crazy about and liked and things like that. So I don't want to talk about other generations fads, or because all of us, we had the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. Everybody had their entertainers or the fads that were out or things that they followed during their generations. The thing about the depiction of black women on television, they act no different than the white women. The white women do the exact same thing as the black women do on those shows, except, of course, we're going to get the bad rap. Oh, look at how the black women act, with the white women throwing glasses, bottles, fighting, going to jail just as much on those shows as we do on the few shows that we have. But of course, we get talked about in the media about our behavior, about it's not depicting all. Of course, it's not showing all of how black women act. It is only depicting what those particular black women, how they act on the show or whatever they allow themselves to do to get ratings or whatever. And so it's a cultural thing, but I don't want us to get off of.
Rose, you don't think it has an influence on young girls?
It has no more influence on young girls than it had when Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson or Prince or any other generation's
I'm talking
entertainer.
about the way they. I'm talking about the way they act. Now
I mean,
our entertainers roles. They you know,
there weren't social media during the time when our entertainers
yeah,
were.
that's what I mean.
So of course it's more visual now, and you can see more of your entertainer's
Mhm.
life. But if you go back and research and read about your Marilyn Monroes and your Dorothy Dandridges and your look at even Bill Cosby, he comes from the baby boomers generation. They did the same exact things that the other generations on earlier the later generations entertainers did. It's just publicized more. What I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
keep on target of talking about is what, since we're talking about, we're on this, what is the fear? What is the fear of the black race from other cultures? Why? Why do they use us? Why do they, like you said, we're the biggest consumers? How much we spend $63 billion on hair. They get us to play their sports now when they used to didn't even allow us to do it. They didn't allow us in sports. They didn't allow us to be on television. We had very few shows during our generations or in the baby boomer times. What is this fear of the black race becoming equal or even better? Why are all cultures taught or given this stereotype about us?
The reason why they're giving this stereotype about us is because whites are afraid that if we become as equal as them, we will take over and enslave them.
That's
That's
true.
their fear. If we make them equal, give them the same rights and everything else, they can bring up in power and enslave us. We're not going to let that happen. That's
All
why, because even what you said with sports, they knew back then we were the fastest runners. We were the better basketball
Their
players.
fear
We're the better
today.
football players. They knew this, but they didn't want to turn around and let us play. But then when they realized and allowed us to start playing and then realized they can make money from us, oh, we got something here. See, it's always about the dollar. Oh, we can make money off these cats.
Right.
That's why they turn around and why they are so afraid, because they know who we are. And they know if they even give us the slightest of power, they are afraid that we will in turn enslave them. And that's why.
going a little deeper. Um, Not only do they know that we're the stronger race physically, and we are, we invented a lot of we invented a lot of things as well.
Thank you.
We're very intelligent. We invented the internet, the super
The cell,
soaker,
the cell phone,
the cell phone.
the
Um,
refrigeration, the
yep,
railroad,
yep.
the
See,
fire hydrant, the street
yeah.
lights, the
Mm-hmm.
telephone.
Closed circuit television, the light bulb. You
Boom.
know, the gas mask, the self lubricating engine.
There you
So
go.
not only are we physically gifted, we're smart people too. But in addition to that, we are most powerful with our
The
genetics,
recipe for KFC
and
fried chicken.
meaning that our genes are dominant over everyone else's, which proves that we're original man. No other race can produce us when they mate with us, but we can produce ourselves in anybody else that we mate with. That's what they're
Because
mostly afraid of. They're mostly afraid of genetic annihilation.
exactly. Plus, at the same time, we're geniuses because people have to look at when they were picking cotton and they each had to pick a certain amount of cotton each and every time they went out in the field, or they wasn't able to eat, or they got whipped. So a black man invented the cotton gin, and one plantation owner had it and realized it picked more cotton than all the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't even give it to the other plantation owners because he knew he was making more money than them. So we kept creating things that made what they had as slaving
easier for us.
Easier
Yeah,
for us.
we're very innovative. We're very innovative. Yep. I want to say that's another thing. The intelligence of our black men and women is above and beyond what they even know. We are so innovative. We can make anything. We can duplicate anything.
Right.
It's in our DNA, and it has to allow one to think like, why are we so special? Why are we so hated? Why don't they want us to get ahead? What is it? And I want us to stop and think about it. Stop and think about why they want to keep us oppressed, fighting against one another, instead of coming to, why is it? It has to be something special about us. And if we could just get past all the things that we've learned from generations to generations and come together as we are doing this slowly, we could be such a great race. We could. It's not in our nature to get back. We don't want to get back at the white man. We just want to be equal. We want to get what's owed to us, what's due to us. And it's human nature for a person that you've oppressed and beaten and mistreated, that for you to think that if you let them strive and be equal, that they're going to get you back in that kind of form. But that's not in black people's nature. That's not in our nature. All we want is what's due to us. All we want to do is live well.
That's it. That's all we want. But they're not going to give it to us because the first thing they're consistently saying is they don't even get along with each other. So why should we give them anything?
Exactly.
Right, but it's not given. See, when you owe somebody something, we're owed.
No, but they don't think that they don't think they owe us anything.
But they do.
They don't think that at all.
Yeah, they know better. They're very intelligent. They know they owe us, but they don't want to pay. Boom. You know what I'm saying? They know we built this country. Free labor in the South, cheap labor in the North. They know Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. You was just talking about the cotton gin. Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. You know, what we contributed to this country. We only built America with muscle. We built America with our minds as well.
Exactly.
But they use our disunity against us. That's our main issue. We don't need 100% of black people to be unified. Right. We just need maybe half. You know,
not even half, maybe 30%.
maybe 30%. Like not a third. But
right.
So many things are being thrown. Like we're suffering from post-traumatic slavery disorder, and so many other things are being thrown at us. So the word reparations means repair. And if we would get our due, what is owed to us, which is reparations, we could repair a lot of the great many issues that we have in our community. Now, some people are thinking that reparations is only cash. Reparations ain't only cash. That's part of it though, because a lot of our people could use money. But then in addition to that, we should get tax breaks for maybe 100 years. You know what I'm saying? Because for being persecuted for 465 years, some things are like money is finite, but then you have other things that are infinite: land, education, tax breaks, low interest loans, and not even low interest loans. It's a lot of things. Therapy. I didn't even mention therapy. There are a lot because a lot of us are still suffering a lot of trauma, you know, with our relationships with each other and them. See what I'm saying? And I think psychiatric help could be helpful. You know, it's just a lot of things other than just money, but we have to stick together to get it. For the simple reason, you have some black people don't even, they want to say, well, they want to be Americans so bad. You know, it's to me, to me, the white man is not nobody you want to be equal with. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to us, you know, not saying that, you know, we are who we are as a people, but like Rose said, it's not in our nature to want to treat them the way they treat us. That's not who we are as people. But at the same time, there shouldn't be the benchmark for us for our equality because of their nature and because of who they are and because of their history throughout the world. So we have to be the best people. We want to strive to be the best race that we could be and contribute and add to the world and not be a liability. But that can't be attained. I say it can be over time, but it'll be much easier if we are paid what we are owed.
Exactly.
Wow.
But
You want to add anything? I don't know if Curtis is still frozen or not.
Yeah, he is.
He's back.
Oh, there you go. What do you say, Kurt?
He's frozen.
I was saying that reparations comes in many different forms and fashions, and I believe our people. Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
He's frozen.
It changes cellular phone carrier to either T-Mobile, AT&T.
He has an iPhone. I don't know what carrier he has. But.
He needs to change to a Verizon 1 to 3.
Yeah, Verizon, T-Mobile.
Until he comes back.
Pause.
Go ahead. What did you say, Curtis? Oh, I thought it was him. Solutions for us.
I have Verizon. I just paused because Rose was speaking.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Go ahead and talk.
Okay.
You're freezing up. That's why we talking. He doesn't know he's freezing up.
He don't know he's freezing. Go ahead, Rose.
Solutions to Curtis. You back? There he is. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to go out and come back in.
Yeah.
When it's that bad. Go ahead, Pithy.
I said, as far as solutions, it's really hard to say what the solution. I mean, we all know what the solution is. It's not what the solution is who will cooperate with the solution.
Right.
That's the question. Because we have many solutions on how to get this to change, but if we don't get cooperation, it doesn't matter. It won't even matter.
Like I said before about the reparations, you have a few experts. You have Dr. Clark Anderson. He has a think tank called the Harvest Institute. What you have to do is there needs not to be a study. They just need to make the decision to do it. The only thing need to be studied is how things should be done. And the way that should be done is they should be done in a way that benefits us as a people over time and in a bunch of different areas. And the ones who don't like it, they can lump it, because we're not thinking about how people feel individually. We're thinking about what's best for our race, and we have a Eurocentric individual thing going on with our people where we only think about ourselves, and as long as we okay, as long as me and mine, okay, me and
Exactly.
mine. So
Exactly.
when it's time for the the reparations to be dispersed out, there should be a number for cash payments, and then other things that will help our people out, not just money, because what our people are ignorant to the point where if it's all in money, they'll put it right back into the economy and go out and buy another damn Cadillac or a Mercedes. You know,
That's
quite
how it
I
naturally,
is.
don't think it's.
quite
I don't
naturally,
think.
people should be able to do what they want with their part.
That's what I'm going to say.
But
I don't
the
think that's
safety
it.
net,
Yeah.
is having other things going on. People being able to open businesses, be able to see better health care, just a bunch of facets of things to help us out as a race. And if people don't agree with that, and not just that, because you just can't satisfy everybody. It has to be a thing where we're doing this, you're going to get this. But over time, we're going to benefit as a people because a whole bunch of things are going to happen that's going to move our people forward after all of us are gone. That's the thing. We don't think about the future. We don't think about grandkids generations ahead of time. We don't think about creating generational wealth. See what I'm saying? So
Right.
the reparations should be dispersed in a manner that is going to benefit us over time. Like the Jews are getting, they're they're using theirs, and they get money, and it benefits them over time. So the Negroes that don't want to get on board, it's just so sorry for you. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think there's anything wrong with our race of people having nice houses, nice cars, spending their money
No,
on the kind of clothes they want to buy. I don't think that's. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. If you work and you work hard and you can buy whatever you buy whatever you buy. But the us as a whole, like you said, it's other things other than just looking
yeah,
nice, living nice, and things like that. And that's what we have gotten away from. I don't blame nobody if they want to ride around on a Rolls Royce or Aston Martin. That's them. If they can afford it, great, awesome. But the plight of us depreciates, it goes down in value as we come up. And that
yeah,
is some of the reasons why um, they started allowing, in quotation marks, us to prosper so that we would take our mind off the bigger picture. It's nothing wrong
yeah.
with us living well and
You
doing
know
well
that
as long as we keep our mind on, we need to make sure that, like you said, it's for our children to come, our children's children, our children's children. What are
Yeah.
we getting as a people? What is we getting as a whole? How are we really? What is our real status in America? What do we really stand? I think Larry used the word about we're going to always be what race?
Permanent underclass.
The permanent underclass, always. No matter how many Cadillacs we ride, how many TV shows we got, it doesn't matter how many millions of dollars that you make. We will always be the permanent underclass in a class of people.
Right. Because of how because you have to teach people how to treat you. We don't get any respect because we don't have, as a whole, respect for ourselves. Now I've talked to foreign people, and they say, I say what they we're portrayed a certain way in the media in foreign countries, you know, and then on top of that, they know us better than we know ourselves. They say we'll sell to anybody and we'll buy from anybody, and that is our downfall. That's what they say about us. Because I talk to people and I ask them. I'm like, okay, if I want to know something, um, like I asked the Ethiopian girl, why don't I don't see a lot of Ethiopian women with African American men. I want to know why, so I asked. I asked a convenience store owner um, something, and we got in a conversation. I think Obama had been elected, and he says, "What it is with you people is you will buy from anyone and sell to anyone." Now, you look at how you have all these foreigners that set up business in our hoods. Okay, but I bet you don't see no Gladys Knight chicken and waffles in any Chinatown in America. You can't go to their into their
Why they
communities and
set up
open up no
businesses in our
business.
hoods?
You can't do it.
We're the
So
biggest consumers. We
yeah,
stand up.
Why?
we the big.
Why?
I know but
Why
we
do
don't
they
have
set
to
up
be.
Trying
businesses
to
in our
achieve
hoods?
the white
Right,
American
exactly.
dream.
Right.
Yep,
Right.
and you're achieving a white American nightmare. Because over time, it's just like I think a lot of people know what we know, but they are selfish and have an individual mindset. Whereas, oh, them niggas ain't gonna do nothing. You know, I'm just gonna do for me.
Exactly.
But at the same time, you know, it's a daunting task for us to change the way we are as a
It is
people.
a
It
daunting
didn't
task.
happen overnight, and the sad part about it
Exactly.
is it's not gonna change overnight.
Exactly.
Right.
But there is hope.
Let's talk about. I'm trying to cut you off, Larry. Let's talk about. I wanted to open up the conversation. We're having a conversation about all the different aspects of our Black culture, what keeps us, how we keep ourselves under,
Mm-hmm.
how other people see us, how other people keep us oppressed, and the progress that we have made. But what are the beginning solutions? What is the root? How can we get to a better place? Like you said, I believe every African American, Black, whatever you call yourself, has the same mentality to have these same conversations that we have. But we feel like, what can we do to change it? We elect these officials. We marched. We got enough nerve up to march and stand up for our rights finally. What all can we do? What can we do? Is nobody standing for us? Is nobody standing in the gap for us?
We have to
Well,
stand for.
we got to stand for each other,
Yeah, there you go.
because they're not going to stand for us. I don't expect anybody, any politician, any senator, any congressman to do any. And that's the thing we
Right.
got to start
So what do we
understanding.
need to do? Like
They
did
are
Republicans?
not. They are not going to do a doggone
we
thing
take a
for
stance
us.
like they did on the Capitol?
We
and
have to
raid the
control our
Capitol? I mean,
politics. We have to control our politics. We don't control our politics just by lining up to vote. You control your politics by building your foundation on economics. Economics has to be the foundation to hold us together. So, because you control your economics by controlling your politics, and you control your politics by paying, lining up to vote. We need to start forming lobbyist groups where we pool our resources and money to go buy votes like everybody else do. We're behind in the game. Everybody else playing the game a certain way. You know what I'm saying? We're behind because being behind has been enough for people, for us. It's easier. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to be behind than it is to make an effort to catch up or play the game properly. See what I'm saying? So people have been taking the easy way out. So we have to control our politics, and you control your politics by controlling politicians. And you can't control your politicians by sending them to Washington just by voting them in. You have to put some money up, and that's the thing with us. We're a $2 trillion economy.
To
You
our
know,
problem.
the 9th largest economy on planet Earth. We have the money, but it's just how we're directing it. Like, how in the Jewish community a dollar turn over 7 or 8 times before it leaves? A dollar don't turn over one time in the Black community, because once we get it, it goes to somebody else who don't look like us. That has to change. It wasn't like that
Right.
before
I
integration.
personally don't think. Right.
It wasn't like that before integration.
Kurt
When
was
you
saying,
had Tulsa, Oklahoma,
I don't
Durham,
think
North Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina, when you had these Black Wall Streets where where they say, okay, y'all don't want us, we're gonna come over here, we're gonna build our own economic base. Now, how is it that they were able to do that, less educated, no
Yeah,
internet,
yeah,
and less technologically advanced than we are, but we can't do that? It's an issue with unity.
yeah.
Okay, at that time, white folks didn't want us, so we built our own economic base. But
Right.
see, that's what I was talking about earlier. You have people that see a bigger picture, and you see the
Right.
ignorant ones that don't see the bigger picture. Integration didn't do anything for us, but caused us to lose our economic power. That
Well,
they
listen to
knew
this.
that was we got to give them something. We got to let them in and give them something. Now the less educated, ignorant white people, they couldn't see the bigger picture, But
How,
the powers that be, they saw that well, us being separated from them it's not gonna benefit us. Cause look what wouldn't have happened if we had still had been separated from them. We have our own economic base. We had our own banks. We had our own hospitals. We had our own movie theaters. We had bus companies, cab companies. We had our own. We had our own world. But we lost all that, so we could sit at a damn lunch counter with a white person in a white-owned business and spend our money in a white-owned business. We lost what we
Wh-
had to get what
While
we
they,
wanted.
while they was
Integration.
while they was spitting in our food.
Yep. Yep.
And like I said before, we have many, many, many solutions. We don't need any more solutions. We need cooperation. We
Yeah,
need
you're right about that. We need cooperation.
cooperation
We know what to
among
do.
our people. Soon as we get that cooperation, we be on point. But
Yeah.
until then, it's
of
not going
course.
to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just not. I mean,
Right.
white people don't have a problem. They know black people. Give them a Mercedes Benz or a BMW, and they good. They good. They
Yep.
good. Here and there, give them a Louis Vuitton pocketbook or a Coach
Uh,
pair of shoes, or hold up, come out with a brand new pair of Nikes and have the kids sleep in front of the store till the store open, and they good. They good.
yeah.
We need cooperation.
Yeah.
Stop talking about solution. Stop talking about solution. We gotta find and it's hard to get black folks to cooperate. It's hard
But after
because
this,
we don't like each other. So how are we gonna cooperate?
that's right. But after this, I mean, eventually, it's like we shouldn't have to. It may take this. We may have to reach rock bottom, to come back up. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to see that, but we
We
shouldn't
might
have
have to
to.
do that. We might
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
do
I was
that.
thinking that too. I'm like, man, we shouldn't have to be to the point where we're about to go back on the plantation for black folks to want to wake up. We shouldn't have to. You know. Also, I don't even know. I was thinking about, and a lot of people may be thinking about, America. I mean, America is like Rome. Eventually, Rome did fall, right? I look at what goes on. I look at how the government is operating. I look at uh, our so-called democracy.
Of course.
I look at how the quote-unquote dominant society is reacting to a lot of things, and I think they're in desperation mode right now because of their numbers. And I think
Mm.
Rose had another topic to talk about, um, the
Yes.
decline in the white population. I think that was another
Yeah,
thing.
I
I
wanted
already
to
know.
touch on that, and we
Hmm.
already
Uh,
touched
uh,
on.
uh, Ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean to interrupt, but I got to
You
take it
gotta
down.
go.
I got to
Okay,
be up
good.
at 5 a.m.
All
Okay.
right. We're gonna do a
What
part
we
two.
got to do, yes, we got to do this again.
Yeah, we'll do part two where we will talk about the decline of the U.S. white population and Generation Z a little bit more, and also
Hmm.
Dr. Francis
Cress Wells.
Wesley Welsing her
Her
article she
theory
did
of color
about,
confrontation.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in part 2, and I'll get together with you guys and see what we can do part 2 this week. We've already been on a little bit over 2 hours now.
Right.
I think. Yeah, exactly 2 hours on the dot. Exactly. So we're gonna continue this conversation. Possibly today is what, Monday? Maybe Wednesday afternoon. Is Wednesday good with everybody?
Next Wednesday?
This Wednesday.
Oh yeah, this Wednesday will be fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about 250th?
It'll be fine.
Okay. Curtis, can you hear me?
Wednesday me as well.
Okay, awesome. So we'll resume part 2 of this discussion Wednesday, same time, about 10 o'clock. Thank you for those that will replay the broadcast. Again, if you like the content, please like and subscribe. Ring that bell so you can know when we're on. All the panel members that showed up tonight, their information is in the description box. Also, the references of the things that we talked about in the conversation are also in the description box as well. I do thank you guys for coming in. I know it was a long conversation. I know this is a hard conversation, and I think it's something that we should talk about. I think that it is beneficial to our children, our children's children, that we begin to get back to the basics. You know, to make sure that we know that we're going to leave some wealth for our children, and that they're going to have their rights of what they deserve. All right, I'm going to say good night to everybody, and we will resume part 2 Wednesday night at 10. I will put the thumbnail out. Maybe we'll have one more guest. I was a guest tonight that I think they maybe got mixed up with the time or something, but we may have another guest on with us on Wednesday. So I'm going to say good night to everybody.
Good night, gentlemen.
One thing before we go. I know that Rose has our information in the chat, but I wanted to let everyone know that I also have a podcast. It is Listen to L Boogie. It is on Spotify.
Okay.
And tune in if you would, and just listen to L Boogie. That's something in addition to my YouTube channel I have, and that's all I have to say.
Awesome. So he's staying on Spotify, same name as his YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Curtis. Curtis, can you hear us? I'm sure he can hear us. He's just frozen.
I'm just frozen.
Say again. Okay, well, yes, I can hear you. Well, on Facebook, I have a cooking show. We in the kitchen again. Find all my cooking show videos on my YouTube, which is Curtis Roundtree TV. Thank you once again, dear, and L Boogie as well, PYTHIAS. Good to see y'all again.
All right, y'all have a good night.
All right, good night, PYTHIAS. You want to say anything? You want to give your shout out for your email or your?
Yes.
All right,
go ahead.
Good night.
All right, bye, everybody.
All right, y'all.
Good night.
Get out.